you should probably expect spoilers.
He's an inexperienced martial artist and he can't throw a Hadouken like the other guys can. Who that? It's not Dan Hibiki. If you're one of the people who took a look at the Street Fighter 3 cast and wasn't really feeling them when they first appeared in like 1997, then you're going to hate this episode because I'm about to complimentary dry hump this character for all the awesomeness he's worth. Shawn Matsuda, the literal personification of the new generation of Street Fighters. If Ryu holds the poster boy image of what a Street Fighter should be, then Shawn absolutely embodies the passion for that image. But many would be quick to stop that statement dead in its tracks and tell me, "Oi! Shut it! Shawn's rubbish! You're having a fucking laugh, DiGi!" And honestly, it wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary because Shawn gets a bad rep most of the time. I do feel people's opinions of Shawn are greatly misplaced though, and in some cases it even tends to be a manipulated opinion rather than a person's actual opinion of him. How so? Well, for starters, he's often labelled as the Dan Hibiki of the Street Fighter 3 series. And without wanting to suddenly turn this into a Dan episode, for those that don't know, Dan Hibiki is somewhat of a joke character within the Street Fighter universe. He's not too popular with the other cast members, and he has a pretty crappy moveset. This brings us to Shawn, who is a martial artist in training and therefore has a moveset that's a little bit unrefined. Because of this, he tends to have a losing streak, and he often demands that people don't compare him to Dan Hibiki. This is all canon, by the way. So, what happens when you have a character portrayed in the story as being a bit of a failure? Sometimes that opinion within canon breaks out and influences our own opinions on what we should be thinking of that character. Street Fighter constantly tells us that Shawn is a loser and a bit crap. But is he actually crap though? Hell no! And I'm gonna try my best to show you why. Before I do that, as always, I'll give you the backstory for the character before we start diving into the subsections. So then, who is he? Shawn is a young man from Brazil who enjoys sports and has such a love for basketball that he carries his basketball around with him wherever he goes. Starting to sound a little bit like Elliot Edwards there, aren't we, Shawn? Anyways, one day Shawn was suddenly hit with waves of inspiration after seeing legendary Fire Fist Ken dropping Shoryuu reppers at a US martial arts tournament. Absolutely enthralled by the breathtaking display of Ken's skills, Shawn wanted to become his pupil and vowed to work as hard as he could under the tutelage of Mr. Masters. Shawn then began tagging along wherever Ken went. One day, Shawn challenged Ken to a match in the hopes that he would be able to show his would-be sensei the new skills he's learned. However, Ken did the janitor skank and wiped the floor with him. Seeing an opportunity to not only have the kid gain some experience but to also get Shawn out of his beautiful golden hair, Ken sends him out on a journey to find Ryu and told him not to come back until he beat Ryu in a fight. Which is obviously stupid because it's Ryu. You're not going to beat him in a fight. Shawn, obviously too determined for his own good, takes on the challenge and travels the globe looking for Mr. Hadouken. As expected, our Brazilian brother here gets his ass handed to him by Ryu when he finally finds him. He's not one to get disheartened from such setbacks though, instead continuing to train himself and further develop his skills. At the request of Ken, a deadline is set for when the two shall meet again, and Shawn will have to show him everything he has learned within that time. That brings us neatly to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and the last time we saw Shawn in a canon story appearance. With Street Fighter 5 on the horizon and Ono hinting that a character from Brazil is going to be announced in the near future, it could either be Oro or Shawn. And I'm betting so hard on it being Shawn right now. It better be, I'm kinda doing my best to hype up this guy. Anyway, internal personal worries aside, it's time for me to sell this guy to you and show you just why I consider him to be such an important character to the Street Fighter series. Let's go!
Visual design.
So, right out of the gates, you're looking at him and thinking he's just wearing the same things that Ryu, Ken and a bunch of other Shotos wear. And that's obviously true, but it's mainly because Shawn was originally meant to be the only Shoto fighter in the Street Fighter 3 series. Until Capcom kinda went Kendrick Lamar on it and said fuck that before throwing Ryu and Ken back into the mix. But I don't think people realise just how much personality is contained within Shawn's take on the look. Firstly, it's a yellow outfit, by default. Ryu wears your safe and easy white version, Ken's coming with that fiery angle by wearing red. But Shawn? His outfit is loud, it's vibrant, it stands out and pops at you like a drive-by shooting. It's a fitting colour for such a determined character, always active and always moving as he strives to be better than he was the day before. It's a brilliant colour choice for Shawn, and it's honestly my favourite out of all the other Shoto style outfits, even if it is just a different colour. The Shoto fighter look could have gone the way of the 1990s Mortal Kombat ninja, by in which each ninja that was added to the series was just the previous character model for the previous ninja in a different colour. Capcom kinda nipped that kind of thing in the bud though, so we won't be seeing a whole rainbow of Shoto outfits. Which is a shame because I kinda wanted to see a green one eventually. Because I like green, as if it wasn't obvious enough. Another thing that I really love about Shawn's look is his hairstyle, showcasing short dreads with the sides of his head shaved. This gives him that youthful element. He cares about looking good and makes an effort to have a style that is considerably unique to him. He wants people to remember him, so he's bringing his yellow outfit with a hairstyle that's not too common within the scene he's part of. As I mentioned earlier, he also carries a basketball around with him, and thankfully Capcom didn't need to sell out to the NBA and shove sports down our throats just to get a point across. Hello EA. No, what that inclusion of the basketball does for Shawn is, it shows he has other interests outside of martial arts. Ryu's life is entirely based around combat and hardly does much else. Ken does the martial arts thing too and sometimes reminds us that he has a hot wife, but aside from that not much else is going on there either. With Shawn though, that basketball shows us he has another pastime in which he takes great pride in, otherwise he wouldn't be carrying that ball around with him all the time. This one single item opens Shawn's identity out plentyfold amongst his peers. It further refines the character into a mould all of his own. On first glances, yes, he may not seem too different from other characters of this particular cloth, but spend a bit of time with Shawn and you start to feel how he has his own individual presence amongst the other Shoto fighters in the series.
Personality.
Shawn's personality links itself to the urban hip-hop background that the Street Fighter 3 series caters towards, and being set during the 1990s, the golden age of hip-hop was in full pelt with boom-bap beats and slick rhymes flowing all over the shop. Out of all the characters from the Street Fighter 3 cast, Shawn seems to fit neatly into this culture. Basketball can be considered a somewhat predominantly hip-hop sport, and the fact that Shawn associates himself with it so much further adds to his cool b-boy feel. He is essentially a more urban take on the classic Shoto character trope. This personality is also displayed in the way Shawn moves. Movements are more expressive and open than regular fighters of this discipline, partly due to Shawn being from an urban stylized background, but also because of something else. We have to remember that Shawn is a rookie. He is a warrior in training. He hasn't got the experience under his belt yet. Therefore, he's going to do things a little differently to the other guys. Let me explain. Shawn's fighting style is obviously based off the Ansatsuken style that Ryu and Ken use. However, Shawn's take on it is a bit more stylized to his personality and current level of skill. For example, a hurricane kick from Ken would look something like this, with the kicking leg extended and held fiercely in position. Shawn however can't match that current level of skill yet, and therefore finds it more effective for him to switch between his two legs during the attack. Not only does this give Shawn more of a particular take on a well-known move, but it also displays the fact that while he may be inexperienced, he's trying to adapt himself. What does that say about Shawn's personality to you? To me, it says how determined he is to get this fighting style down to a T and impress his tutor. Shawn absolutely wants to be good at this, and he's doing everything he can to learn the style in the best way he knows how. I mean, Shaun cannot perform the Hadouken as a regular move. Straight up, unlike Ryu who's able to throw them out like dollar bills at a strip club, Shaun can't. The only way he can perform the Hadouken is through a super art, which is a system in this fighting game where a move is only usable after certain conditions have been met, mostly the filling of a gauge. So think Final Fantasy VII Limit Break style-y. This implies that Shaun has the potential to tap into the same energy that Ryu and Ken can, but he has to focus much harder than them to pull it off. From a personality standing point, this shows us how determined Shaun is. Headstrong, a go-getter, never letting defeat bring him down. It's because of this drive in him that gives me reason to say Shaun is a perfect character to embody the spirit of the new generation. The previous generation are all masters, Ryu and Ken are close to the top of their game, so what about the new kids? Shaun is not a master, but holy hell is he working his ass off trying to get there. Nothing invites me to a series more than a character who works hard at their goals and is aiming for a huge payoff. Shaun's personality is everything Street Fighter 3 needed to display about the newer generation of fighters. So diss him if you don't like the fact he's unable to spam fireballs all day long, but the one thing you can't knock him on is the fact that this kid's personality is everything the Street Fighter series represents. You get knocked down, you get right back up and you get back in there. As Shaun's saying goes, I may lose today, but I can win tomorrow.
Importance.
As I mentioned in the personality section, Shaun's way of thinking is Street Fighter, so it goes without saying then that since there are not many of this character type around, his importance to the series is actually pretty crucial, believe it or not. We've not seen a character in training since Sakura, and while other characters like Ibuki are also characters in training, they all seem more refined and fledged than Shaun does. Shaun is literally a newbie right out the gates, eager to impress and learn. Sakura never really seemed to go through the same trials and tribulations that Shaun has, and this in turn gives Shaun a whole lot more weight to his journey of becoming a world warrior. We live at a point in time where fighting game tournaments have become such a huge event. You've only got to watch EVO once to see how big things have gotten, and thousands of people descend upon this event in hope of becoming the champion, but of course there can only be one winner, and that means a lot of people are getting sent home. But they go home, they train, and they come back year after year to partake in the event again. And which Street Fighter character best reflects this mentality? Shaun represents the world of Street Fighter more than just in-game. His journey to become a champion now reflects thousands of people around the world who are literally aiming to do this very same thing. If that further doesn't embody the spirit of Street Fighter, then I don't know what else does, man. In universe, he's a character connected to Ken, and through Shaun it shows the passing of time for the series. Ken was once a young, arrogant, cocky teenage kid himself, but grew to become a champion of martial arts. Now with Shaun hanging around, a little wet behind the ears and a whole lot of passion for the scene, it shows Ken has come of age too and is now helping the newer generation find their way. Shaun's inclusion in the series allows Street Fighter to move onwards so it doesn't stagnate, but keeps things familiar enough so things never become too alienated.
Conclusion.
I remember back in the day when I first saw Shaun's picture in a gaming magazine and really being drawn to his yellow version of the iconic outfit. I also like the fact that he was a Shoto of Brazilian heritage, as I personally dig Latin cultures. If that wasn't enough to steal my heart and run with it, seeing Street Fighter 3 really pushed the hip hop angle and having Shaun be so in tune with it really elevated my love for this character. I mean, I'm from a Turkish background, and Shaun speaks more to me than the Turkish character does. Kusura bakma Hakan abi, I'm sorry fam. Personal admiration aside, Shaun illustrates the heart of Street Fighter with hard work, practice, and overall dedication to the martial arts. Living for the fight, learning from the experience, and coming back to do it all again tomorrow in the hopes that if you lost today, you might win tomorrow. No other character knows this better than Shaun because right now, he's living that life. Shaun is a brilliant character, and if I haven't been able to convince you of that, then you know it probably comes down to personal taste. But if he appears in Street Fighter 5, and I'm really hoping that he does, I implore you guys to give him a bit of time. Spend some time with him and you might start liking him as much as I do. Until then, he's getting my Valheart emblem because I absolutely love this character, and I really hope we get to see more of him in the future.